What's going on, guys? Happy Friday. Anybody on? Let me know if you're on. Let me know if you can hear me. I got a lot of good questions this week. Hope I can answer them for you. So I'll just wait a couple minutes here because I know I just started to go live. Don't see anybody on, but I'll wait a couple seconds so I just know that you can hear me. But this is my second live session, and it's actually a lot of fun. So here we go. Let's see. Let's start all off. So again, wishing you guys a happy Friday. I know as entrepreneurs that really doesn't mean much because we're always on the grind. So so hopefully your week was productive, and looking forward to answering questions right now. So here we go. Let's start off. The first two questions I have is from the same person. I'm gonna read the first one here. Keeping up with the flow of consistency, changing and growing company without your employees getting frustrated or forgetting new policies. All right. Things are changing so fast that I'm having to add new things every day, but even I forget things. How do you get from this chaotic feel to a smoother running company while it's still undergoing so many changes? Okay. So let me ask a question here. Why are things changing so fast? Why are you changing so much policy? Why are you, it looks like you're changing different policy. You're changing, I don't know. I'm not sure why you're changing things so fast. And let me kind of give you, and you're changing things so fast that you're actually forgetting your own policies. And that's never good. You never want to execute any kind of plan, especially anything that's going to affect employees, without you thoroughly understanding it. So if you're forgetting them, you're already rapidly moving too fast. So let me give you an example. Identified Talent, the company that I started, we grew 1,300%, over 1,300% in 3 years. We really didn't start changing policies. We really didn't start changing anything that had to do with employees until we saw it was an actual constraint on our growth, right? Like our systems. We didn't start changing our systems until we saw that we were outmaneuvering or outpacing the capacity on the current systems. So again, I guess my question back to you is, why are you changing them so fast? Because you shouldn't be changing them so fast. If the only reason you should be changing it, again, is if you're outpacing your capacity. That's the only reason you should be changing it that fast. Because any kind of disruption within your company, it generally reduces productivity. So again, I don't know why you're changing it so fast. If you want to send me a message, I'm not exactly sure. I would try to keep that to a minimum. So with that being said, let me answer the question. How do you handle it if it is necessary? We are actually going through a full systems implementation, a redo at our company. Now, what we need to do is, if you're going to do this policy change or you're going to change something, is that you have to clearly communicate when the changes are going to happen, right? Because it's going to disrupt people. People don't like changes to begin with. They like their workflow. They like doing what they're doing. They like the systems that they're on, or the policy that they're on, or the comp plans that they're on. And the minute you start changing things, it disrupts it, right? So corporate communication, or what you're going to be telling your employees way in advance, is really, really important, right? So if you know that you're going to be changing something, I would start talking to them, depending on how big your company is. I would start talking to them a month, 2 months in advance, right? This is what we're going to do. And again, you need to know it thoroughly before you start communicating that, right? You need to know it before you start communicating that. And again, the question is that you're forgetting what the things are. So again, I'm going to reiterate that. If you are forgetting what these policy changes are, you should not be executing them whatsoever. You're going to disrupt the productivity of your company. So going back, if you're going to execute a policy change, you need to clearly understand why you're doing it. You have to clearly communicate that with your staff. You need to tell them why it's going to benefit them for themselves and as a whole, right? And then once you start executing it, you have to have that constant communication all the way through where it becomes repetitive and habitual again, right? So the constant communication that you have with your staff before, during, and then after is absolutely important. Okay, so again, the big question is, why are you changing it so fast, right? I mean, again, we grew 1,300%, and we didn't really change anything until actually recently this year. So I'm not sure why you're doing that, but I would try to stay as consistent as you can until your productivity is actually slowing down, and then go into like policy changes. Heather, this is the same question. So Heather had a second question, and I'm kind of like putting them together, and I'm starting to figure out maybe what might be the problem that's actually underlying. The question again is, the second question Heather asked was, I'm looking for incentives to find good quality people and keep them aboard. I'm still a growing company, and I'm not able to afford health insurance for my employees yet, but would love some suggestions to keep people going. All right, so let me kind of just, as I get to know you, I might start to understand a little bit more, but here's what I'm seeing. You're doing a lot of policy changes for employees. You're forgetting things, and you're having a hard time keeping people aboard, right? I think this is more of a, you might be trying to satisfy too many people and actually not selling them the vision of your company and what you're trying to do, right? Because it seems like you're changing policies and you're doing things for your employees, and then you can't find good people. So behind all that, I think that might be are you actually conveying your vision of your company and what you want to try to create and what you can offer them effectively? Because it seems like you're changing a lot of stuff, and again, I might be wrong. It seems like you're changing a lot of things to appease your employees, right? And so, to answer your question here, depending on the size of your company, if you're a larger company, then healthcare tends to get more important. And let me say that when your company gets to about 50 people or more, then it starts to get really, really important that you provide all these, because you can't stay competitive, because now you need more people, right? When you're a smaller company, you really need to do a really good job at selling your vision of what you're trying to create, right? What is in it for the person? Are you providing them? Are you providing equity? You can provide a bonus. You can provide them raises over time. And in actuality, if you do want to provide them healthcare, you might want to actually look into that, because it's not too bad. I mean, here in California, we have to provide 50% of the insurance for each employee. So you might just want to take a look at it, and if you have enough employees, and if it's really a crutch and it's kind of impeding your growth and keeping people aboard, then that's something that you might want to look at. Another thing that you might want to look at is that it looks like you're in a grooming business. Typically, lower paid jobs, there are a lot of turnover, right? So, manufacturing, there's a lot of turnover. We deal with a lot of manufacturing. Lower hourly wage jobs, there's a lot of turnover, and that's just, you're not going to get around it. Call centers, there's a lot of turnover. I mean, we sometimes see 30-40% turnover within 3 months. So it's a constant, cycle, constant. There's always hiring needs with that, right? So when I say that, we have to strategize on that differently. Sometimes retention really isn't the plan. It is, how do you recruit faster, right? And how do you recruit actively all the time? With our clients that need a lot of, have these kind of employees that have high turnover, and it's just basically the psychology of these people, is that we have to actively recruit. We have to constantly go out and try to find these people. And for you, a grooming business, maybe it's putting things on Craigslist, putting things, going to local community college job fairs. So recruiting has to be a really big segment of your day if you want to keep employees around. So hopefully that answers your question on that one. But again, the two questions were asked. I'm looking at it in a little different way. I'm thinking, and this is just my assumption, I don't know if you're conveying your company mission, your company culture, or your vision correctly, because you're doing a lot of company policy changes. And is it because are you changing policy because one employee is upset and you don't want to lose them? And then, are you doing changes for them? And you can't do that. And if you can't find good people, then, you got to ask yourself what you're doing from a recruiting end. It might seem that you might be making these policy changes on a more emotional level, just because you don't want to lose these people, but you shouldn't do that. I mean, if you're going to do any kind of policy changes, you want to make sure that you drive it by data. You don't drive it by emotions. So Heather, hopefully I answered that for you. Next question here is, how do you recommend fostering a positive attitude in your workplace? Hey, that is just from top-down leadership. I mean, if the leader is fostering a positive attitude, I mean, if the leader, as the company owner, as an entrepreneur, and you have employees, if you're constantly focusing on a caring and positive environment, then that's what's going to transpire in your business, right? If it's I can't say it any better, but saying you really got to care for your employees. You have to understand that your employees are people. They have feelings, they have goals, they have wants, they have needs, and the more that you care about your employees, the more positive the attitude is going to be in your workplace, right? I think it's the quote that says that people don't care about how much you know unless they know how much you care. And that should be implemented in your workplace, right? These are people that are helping you build your vision, and a lot of times that you have to really get in there and care about them. Also, the one thing that I do with my company is that people joke around a lot. People do like little jabs and they make fun of each other, and as much as it's funny sometimes. I don't tolerate anyone putting down anybody in my company, regardless if they don't hit goals or regardless if they come short about that. There is never a time that I allow in any kind of way putting down anyone in my company. I don't care if they're the top producer in my company, if they are the bad seed and they're just talking crap on everybody else, they're gone. It's one bad seed is going to absolutely destroy your entire company. And I don't tolerate that. I don't condone it, So that's something that you have to foster too. As your companies start to get bigger and as you start to get more employees, you're going to start to get a lot of different dynamics and a lot of different personalities. And some people are going to be a little bit more negative, a little bit more competitive, a little bit more condescending. And as a leader, you just got to nip that in the bud. You can't allow that to happen whatsoever because it will destroy your culture. If you do not stand up for your employees, regardless, I've seen it many times where the top producer can get away with everything. They can cuss out their boss, they can cuss out their coworkers, they can do whatever, and they get away with it because they're producing. That will ultimately destroy your culture if you want to try to grow a great environment. So to foster a positive attitude, you need to keep it that way all the time, right? Robin, you asked, what was your strategy for your amazing growth in just 3 years after dealing with a very difficult time, both emotionally and financially? Do you have that no excuses mindset, but was there more on your strategy? Well, Robin, the no excuses attitude is probably the foundation. I think, I will just say that, in any endeavor that you do, it is ultimately going to be your mindset that's going to cause you to succeed or cause you to fail, right? I think most people look at situations as either a problem, they focus on the problem that they have there, and they don't focus on the solution. In order to win in anything, in business, in life, whatever it is, you need to focus on the solution. So that's number one, right? But was there strategy involved during that? Absolutely. And how I did this was, I'll give you a little bit about my background. I own a staffing company, but I've never done staffing. I've been in recruiting for the last 15 years. So basically what that means is I have been in corporate recruiting, meaning that I worked for a company and brought them talent. I didn't work as an agency or third-party staffing company to bring talent in. Those are two different ball games. Like I actually didn't For me, I actually didn't know there were two different ball games. I thought recruiting was recruiting, but there were two different ball games, right? So when I decided to start the company, I had no idea what I was doing. But, and my strategy was maybe not the best strategy, but I just dived right in. And so what I mean by this is that you have to go, what I would recommend is that learn as much as you can. Learn from us, learn from the other 4 mentors in here. Don't make those mistakes. Learn from people that are in your industry. Try to ask them questions, ask me questions. The best strategy is to try to get as much information so you can minimize all those mistakes that you're just gonna have through entrepreneurship. So again, like the amazing growth in 3 years, a lot of that was through the relationships that I built. Right? I think with any business that you have, relationships are the most important things that you can build. And I think it's one of the best skills that you can have is to be able to influence and the ability to create a relationship, a mutually beneficial relationship at that. So with the growth, I don't know. I think it was, to be honest with you, I think it was part a lot of hard work. I mean, it was literally 18 hours a day. 7 days a week. It was nonstop, but it was also, the relationships that I had. And, I think luck really favors the prepared and luck favors the people that are out there the most. And I will say I had a little bit of luck on my hands to grow, 1,300% in 3 years. And enthusiasm. I think enthusiasm is really infectious. I think the guys that joined me when I was very, very early on in my business, they weren't, they came from big corporations and they had their benefits, and this is going back to all the other questions. They had their benefits plans, they have their 401k plans, and they decided to join me. They decided to come aboard, no guaranteed pay. They were all commission, no guaranteed pay. No benefits, no retirement plans, nothing like that, no days off or anything, but they believed in the vision and they believed on what they can create for themselves. And I think that enthusiasm and that motivation to try to better, your situation, I think that's important. And if you can convey that to the people that are in your organization, you're going to have a very successful and healthy organization. So enthusiasm is incredibly important in my 3-year growth. Getting together with other mentors, I messaged and I met a lot of people that own different staffing companies like myself, and I asked them what they did. What was the first thing that they did? What were the mistakes that they made? What were the, if they can do it again, what would they do? Let's see. Next question: would you recommend finding co-founders or partners that have strength in certain areas and giving them equity if you're not able to pay them a salary? If so, how do you go about recruiting talent in that situation? That's actually a good question. It all depends. I mean, it's a good question, but again, it all depends. Let me kind of think this one out here. The reason why I'm thinking this out is because as far as co-founders, as far as partners, I've had partners in the past, and then it does get a little bit tricky when you have them. I understand. I think with this, this is just my personal opinion. I would try to hold out on co-founders and partners this is just me, and I nobody else, but I would try to hold out on co-founders and on founders unless you absolutely need them. Let's say a CTO, right? Nowadays, if you're starting a tech company, if you're starting an app company, if you're starting anything with technology, if you're not a technologist, you're going to need a CTO. You're not going to get any kind of funding. You're not going to get any kind of investment unless you have someone that can understand the technology side, right? Now, if you're looking for a co-founder to help you on the business or what we call the functional side, and that's what you do, I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. If I'm bringing someone on that was very similar to me, I'm not going to bring on a co-founder because the reason being is because the company that I built, this is my vision. This is what I want to do. This is what the contributions that I want to make to society. And then once you get two people kind of like in that it gets tricky, right? But if the strength that you're looking for is completely outside of your realm, then that's something that I would consider, such as if I wanted a technologist, if I was going to build an app, or if I was going to build a software platform, then yes. If I couldn't afford them, then yes, I would bring on a CTO co-founder. But then you have to structure on it, how much equity are you going to be giving them, right? Now, if they buy into your vision, here's my suggestion. I don't think that I would give them equity off the bat. I think that I would give them equity after they achieve a certain amount of objectives. You know, it can't just be like, hey, come on in, I'm going to give you equity. I mean, just like companies, you're going to come on in. You have to, if you come into a corporation and they're going to give you equity, you have to earn that equity, right? Because they have to have skin in the game. You have to hit certain objectives. So that's what I would do. I mean, if you are going to bring in somebody, you got to clearly and enthusiastically sell your vision on what you're going to create. And if you can, give them a measure to which they have to achieve in order for them to get equity on it. That's what I would do. But I would never give anyone equity off the bat. That's your baby. I wouldn't give away the house that fast. The next question, if so, how'd you go about doing it? Man, you just networking. I mean, like, those aren't some things that you can actually post online and people come to you. You gotta go out and meet people. You gotta go to your, depending what it is. I mean, I'll give you different examples. You can go to your chamber of commerce. You can go to, if it's a technology, if you're building technology on a certain platform, go out to user groups. Go out to anywhere that you can meet as many people as you can. And that's how you have to do it. You just have to go out and network as many places as you possibly can to find that right person, right? You're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs before you're going to find your prince, basically. So that's the only way that I see that you're going to be able to find a co-founder. You cannot do it traditionally. You got to network and you got to find as many people as you can. You got to talk to as many people as you can. You got to network with as many people as you can. Okay. How to recruit freelancers and secure long-term relationships. I'm starting a self-help coaching business, and I'm building an online platform. You want a simple answer? You pay them well. I mean, if you're looking to hire freelancers that are fee-based, you got to pay them well. I mean, we do this all day long. We hire freelancers and contractors all day long. And generally, those freelancers and contractors command a different rate rather than someone that's full time. You just got to pay them well. We're generally about 30% over what their market rate would be if they're really, really good. And here's the truth: they deserve it. And if they deserve it, they're going to do a good job with their clients. So if they do a good job with your clients, then the propensity for you to increase your business long term is going to be higher. So, I'd pay them really well. I mean, that's how I would secure freelancers. I mean, when you're talking about freelancers or contractors or independent contractors, anything like that, it's usually a compensation thing that they're looking for, right? Because that's why they get into consulting. That's why people start businesses. That's why people become freelancers. That's why people become contractors, because they're looking for a higher wage, because they can command it. And generally, the really good people aren't working for companies. They're actually contractors because they know they can command those rates. So in actuality, if you pay them more and you try to keep that relationship, they'll stay with you, right? They'll stay with you. They'll stay with you if you pay them what they're worth, right? So, that's I think the 5 or 6 questions that I have. Hopefully I answered that to your liking, or hopefully it helped you. I'm happy to do any kind of other follow-up questions. Just message us on the community board, and I will be more than happy to clear up any of those questions or answer anything else. But other than that, hey guys, thanks for your time. I really enjoy being here. Sorry if I'm fumbling a little bit. I'm a little bit newer to doing things on like a Facebook Live, I'm usually in front of an audience or one-on-one. So it gets weird seeing my face talking. So as I get used to this, I'm going to get better. But hopefully I'm providing value. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. I'm here to help you guys. I truly believe in entrepreneurship, and I'll leave you with this going into this weekend, and why I'm here, and why it's been a privilege for me to do this, and I'm thankful for Shawn to do this, is because for the past 15 years I've been employing people, and you know, the workforce is changing. Things are changing, and I think the greatest amount of security that you can provide yourself is actually to be an entrepreneur. Reid Hoffman said it. Reid Hoffman, if you guys don't know who Reid Hoffman is, he's a co-founder of LinkedIn. He sold his company for $26.2 billion. And he said entrepreneurship or the startup is the home equity of the next generation. That's why I'm here. And thanks for bearing with me. I promise to get better at this, and hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. See you guys.